Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we continue on with the Mattel Dino Trackers line, the new Jurassic World line that is fresh and brand new from Mattel. We've got another Wild Roar figure here to take a look at today, as we've got the Dryptosaurus. And this one honestly looks awesome if you ask me. Like, this is definitely one that I was really excited about. A very cool species we just don't get many figures of. And another pretty cool looking figure overall from Mattel, I would say. Definitely looks neat, and you can see that we've got a nice dark color scheme for this one with a little bit of blue, so a little added element of flashiness there to the face. But you can see again that as far as the packaging goes, it looks exactly as the Eocarcharia did yesterday. And again, if we turn it to the back, it's pretty much going to be the same type of thing where we could see kind of a sneak peek of the action feature here of our Dryptosaurus, as well as the other figures that are in this wave again of Dino Trackers Wild Roar figures. So let's pop this out of the box and check it out. So here is our Dryptosaurus, nice and not standing here before us. Wow, what's going on with this guy? He doesn't want to stand at all. So, oh, there we go. We just needed to move the leg out a little bit. But it definitely looks really cool. If I can move it up a little bit further forward here, it looks very nice as far as the sculpt goes, and very unique and really nice looking color scheme that, just like with the Eocarcharia, looks like it actually has color from head to tail, which is a huge plus. The added coloration to these newest Wild Roar figures really does make them kind of a cut above the rest when it comes to the paint schemes and the appeal factor of these figures. Like, it looks really cool as far as the coloration goes. And again, the sculpt is very unique compared to previously released Mattel figures, so I'm pretty hyped for this one, even more so now having it out of the package. So let's jump to a closer look at this right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Dryptosaurus, you can see straight away the detailing looks very interesting here in the face. You've got some really large, very kind of like rough and rugged looking scaling here for the snout leading back into the palate. It starts to kind of become a little bit more fine as we lead toward the eye socket area and then up above the eye, but very cool looking detailing for the face, something I don't think that I've really seen before from Mattel. You can see the nostrils sculpted out right there. You can also see that the majority of the body is a blackish tone, but we have this nice kind of like a lighter gray kind of leading up and striping up into the face. And you also have a little area here of some blue that does the same kind of stripes up right there into the palate area. We've got a really nicely painted eye with a yellow. The fact that that eye is such a nice light yellow, and then we have that nice dark tone of black there around it, really helps for the eye to stand out and pop quite beautifully. You can also see that we have these, again, I don't know if they're meant to be very large quills leading off of the back of the head here, but you can see they pick up here and they start to run down the course of the neck here of our dinosaur. You can also see some nice scale detail here for the lower jaw. Just like we saw with the Eocarcharia, I feel like the teeth here are a little bit large as far as the size goes, but considering these are just toys, that's not surprising. It's something that we often find with the Mattel line. That mouth was a little hard to actually get open there, but you can see that again, the jaw articulates quite nicely. We've got some pretty nicely sculpted out teeth here for the lower jaw. Also a nice kind of a dark pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth. Nice gloss coat. You can see the tongue sculpted out in there. Similar tone of color that we've seen on the last few Mattel releases, so it seems like we're kind of sticking with that coloration right now. The teeth are also kind of like a light gray, bordering on an off-white there, and they as well sport a nice gloss coat to them, which is a very nice kind of realistic aspect. But as you continue to move back here into the body, you can see some more nice looking scale detail. You've got kind of like some osteoderms and stuff poking up here and there. Lots of nice skin wrinkling and stuff here in the lower part of the throat. Kind of lizard-like scaling, I would say, for the neck area here of our Dryptosaurus. You can see more of those grays kind of splotching and designing here through the side of the neck of the dinosaur. You can see that the lower jaw is that same light gray, but it quickly transitions to a black as we lead into the throat. You can see the throat though, and again, some more very, like I said earlier, lizard-like scaling here. It reminds me of something that I would see on a modern-day lizard as far as the way that the scale detail here appears in this particular section of the Dryptosaurus. As we continue to move down, you see more of that gray kind of picking up and designing here through the body. You can also see that we have more of those. Again, I don't know if they're meant to be quills or ridges here running along the back, but they pick up really small, get a little bit larger, get a little bit smaller, get really big, and then get smaller again. As we continue to move through the course of the back, you can see that pretty much follows that same trend as we move through the back. We have lots of different sizes for those. And as we move down here into the arm, again, more really nice scale detail as we move down, very reptilian looking scale detail, as well as some nice muscle definition. You've got the elbow sculpted out back there, some nice scoots running down the fingers. The detailing is exceptionally vibrant on this figure and really nicely sculpted out. Claws here for the hands. I feel like the detailing of Mattel figures is just getting better and better as time goes on. As you move through the body here, you can see more kind of like osteoderms and stuff picking up here, kind of like big just bumps all over the body, as well as that really nice, again, fine scaling that we see moving through. More kind of skin movement and stuff shown here in the stomach region. Lots more skin wrinkles and everything down here in the lower part of the stomach as well. You can see a little bit of girth to the stomach, so the dinosaur looks pretty healthy. As we move back here, you can begin to see some nice muscle definition here in the thigh, and then we also have a totally different style of scaling here in the thigh compared to what we have up here, compared to what we have in the face. So they've done a very good job of mixing it up as far as the skin texture goes on this release. You can also see the kneecap there, lots of skin creasing and everything in the joint of the knee, the calf muscle yet again. And as we continue to move down, you can even see again a different style of scaling. As we reach down here into the foot, we've got some nice scoots running down the toes. Nicely sculpted out nails. Again, the figure is black at this point, so the nails are black, which kind of gives them the appearance of being painted, but we don't have that type of a look here for the fingers unless we have totally different coloration for the nails from the fingers to the toes. And you can also see that we do have dew claws here, really quite exceptionally large dew claws for the Dryptosaurus. And as we move up here, you can again see a little bit more kind of skin wrinkling and stuff right there as we start to transition away from the black, and now that kind of light gray that we've seen through the majority of the body begins to pick up and overtake the entire tail. And once we reach here into the area here where the articulation begins for the tail, that kind of swiveled area, the tail now is completely gray, and you can see again that we have that same style of scaling where we have like the osteoderms, but you can see a slightly different, more kind of like rough and rugged looking scaling up there at the top, as well as again those kind of quills or ridges running along the back, as well as down here along the side of the tail. And you can see it looks super cool as we lead out the length of the tail. We have them sticking out of the entire side of the tail the entire way out. Really nice curve as we lead out the length of the tail as well. And you can also see some beautiful looking sculpt and detail here for the underside. You're really not going to see too much difference over here compared to what we just saw on the initial side, but honestly, it is a beautiful looking figure on both sides. I'm actually really impressed with this one. This one has quickly risen to one of my favorites of the Dino Trackers line that I've seen so far, and definitely a really cool looking sculpt with a really cool paint job. As far as articulation goes for the Dryptosaurus, again, we already saw that we have the articulation of the jaw, which works pretty nicely, but the fact that it instantly closes means it's part of the action feature, just like we saw on the Eocarcharia. But then as far as the arm, you can also move the arm forward and back. A little jerky as far as that movement goes. You can also go out away from the body, also a little jerky. We do also have articulation in the neck, but that's part of the action feature. We're not going to mess with that or it's going to start yelling at us. We have the articulation of the leg, forward and back, as well as out away from the body. Not too far, but a little bit. You can see a little movement there. And then again, the swivel tail. Pretty much your standard as far as Mattel articulation goes. And actually, before we get too far, and I forget about it, let's get the fax app code here for you guys, because I will forget about it and then we'll miss it. But there is the code, if it would focus correctly on it, for you to add that one to your collection. But then again, as far as the action feature goes, some pretty cool noises, honestly. I actually quite like that. A little bit different from your average Mattel Theropod noise. For a size, lengthwise, you're looking at about 12 inches or around 30.5 centimeters. And then for a height, about 5 3/4 inches or just shy of 15 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Peppo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, as always giving us a good size comparison here and showing that our Dryptosaurus is pretty much the exact size you would expect it to be, being in that Roarivore, Roar Attack type size range. I think looking at it here, like the arms are like awfully huge. Of course the feet are a little bit too big, but for some reason right at this exact moment, those arms were really jumping out at me as far as being pretty big. But again, that's kind of off topic as to what we were trying to achieve here, and that would be a size comparison, again showing you that these are, as far as the wild roars go, right there in the same size range as the roar attacks and the previous figures that have come before it in that size range. And then for one more comparison, and the final comparison, because I don't feel like we really need too many comparisons this time around, you can see we have the Eocarcharia next to the Dryptosaurus here, again showing you that they are a very similar size. Obviously, the Eocarcharia is a little bit thicker than our Dryptosaurus, but size-wise, they are right there in pretty much the same height and length area. So this brand new Jurassic World Dino Tracker's Wild Roar Dryptosaurus is another pretty fun figure actually, and definitely a very unique and interesting looking one compared to previous Mattel releases. I think this one will definitely be a standout for Mattel, just because the sculpt is so unique, and again, it's another really cool species that we just don't really see very often get made into figures, and there's a lot of that, I think, in the Dino Trackers line, because I guess they have kind of exhausted most of the dinosaurs that we see being usually the most popular species. I feel like Mattel has run through most of them, outside of maybe an Acrocanthosaurus, something I'd love to see them make. But again, Dryptosaurus is a very cool species, and I feel like they've given us a very interesting looking version of one here. Really nice, really vibrant sculpt, and I love the fact that we have so much difference as you move through the course of the figure as far as the skin texture. Like there's all sorts of different scaling and all different kinds of bumpy osteoderms and quill-like ridges and all kinds of stuff on this one that definitely helps to make the figure look very, very nice in hand. And on top of that, I feel like the paint scheme is awesome. Yet again, just like with the Eocarcharia, I really like the paint scheme of this one, as we've got coloration all the way from the head all the way out onto the tail. It would have been cool to see maybe a little more color out on the tail with maybe a black striping or something, but even still, it looks awesome as far as having that coloration, starting with the dark black with a little bit of blue and then having the light gray, and that kind of gray trails through the entire black of the figure, and then we lead out to the gray overtaking the entire tail, definitely giving it, again, a fully painted appearance outside of a lack of nail paint. And on top of that, you of course have an action feature, which seems to be the exact same action feature that we had with the Eocarcharia. I'm not a huge fan of it, honestly. It's not terrible by any means, it's just not the greatest action feature ever, but yet again, we have the button up there on the top, but this time I feel like it doesn't really look out of place for the most part. Like, you can obviously tell it's there, but it doesn't look like a huge eyesore, which is a huge plus for this figure over some others. The fact that it has those kind of ridges up there on the top where you can kind of push those to move it over definitely helps this one out when, again, providing us with a button to activate the action feature in a way that it doesn't look obnoxious or ugly. So as a whole, this is another really fun release and definitely another fun Wild Roar figure. So if you are interested in picking this up, I found mine at Target. You can, of course, check some links that I'll include in the description to where you can purchase them elsewhere. I believe it's potentially still on Amazon, and I think that they had the 4-pack of all of the Wild Roars on Big Bad Toy Store, which kind of seems to be going in and out of stock, so I'll include that link in the description if you want to just try to get them all and just keep checking it, because again, one day I see it's in stock, the next day it's not, then the next day it is, so just make sure you keep checking those links and everything, and then hopefully you can snag yourself this very cool figure if you don't find it at your local Target. But my Target usually gets everything really late, and the fact that it already had this out is definitely reassuring that most people should have it at their Target very soon. So if you can find it, definitely pick it up and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.